entertaining podcasts I listen to. I don't listen to many. That one, Francine, is a different point of view. It's a female point of view, but someone who's been through the hardcore wars.
Yes.
So what Francine has to say to me matters and is important. And there are two guys up in New York, Monty and the Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm.
I find them hugely entertaining. I find them fun to listen to. But those three are the only three podcasts really other than, the PW Insider stuff that I listen to at all.
All right, welcome back to the Howard Stern of Pro Wrestling. Monty the Pharaoh on a Thursday night at 7:30. Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
Fucking lovely. What's going on?
Oh, no. Monty does it again. I want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, where you can bet. There's no betting. Well, we could bet basketball and baseball this week, Jimmy. What do you think?
Basketball and baseball?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not
Is that what you
baseball.
want to do?
Sorry. Basketball,
Yeah.
hockey. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, we already know the Yankees are betting on a world championship. So.
Are they really?
Oh, yeah. Cashman says we're good enough.
Well, we did well again last week, right? I think, right? Denver covered 3.5.
Right.
Right. And Seattle, that was a close game with LA.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Rams won't be there to stop the Patriots tidal wave, but
it's unbelievable, dude. Anyway, I again, I want to remind everybody we're brought to you by FanDuel, where you can go where the action is. But I'm very excited for our guest, the man who changed wrestling TV forever. I'm going to say his name, and if I fuck it up, you could chew me out, but it's David Sahadi. David, welcome aboard, sir, to the Howard Stern of Pro Wrestling. So glad to have you, man. Holy
it's a pleasure to be here, and let's have some fun. I still pop that opening every single time I see that. I love the opening of your show. Pharaoh's kind of scared me right now, I have to say that, with his long hair and the shades on. It's not like when the opening. Yeah.
Listen, Jimmy,
Pharaoh.
When he gets angry, Dave,
yeah,
it's not a good thing. And
I know, but two things work in my favor. I can't.
Is this any better? I mean, I
like the glasses on because you're scary.
Take the shades off.
No, put the shades back on. No, please put them on. But I have some good news right now. I see he's wearing a Jets gear. My dad, Papa Lou, this was given to him when he turned 50 years old. He worked for the Jets. And as a long-suffering Jet fan, my father, who's my closest friend. Yeah, I do. It's Papa Lou's shirt. I say when they say what teams I said, it's my dad's shirt. And I got a New York Jets shirt. I have 3 of them, a jersey. And my dad passed at age 93. I don't want to go into that unless you want to. Probably make me cry. But it's 93 with Papa Lou in the back. And
wow.
So now Pharaoh doesn't scare me as much.
Okay.
Because we have a common painful bond.
Yeah,
it's the
there's
New York
something
Jets.
much more scarier than you and I, and it's the Jets.
I know. That's why I'm not as afraid of you right now, Pharaoh, because of the Jets. We have that mutual bond right now, and it's just
how's it feel watching Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl? You're gonna make a video package of his Jet highlights. It'll be about 5 seconds.
I know. No, actually, it's gonna be longer than that. It's gonna be 30, Pharaoh, because he had one run I remember where he ran from left to right, scrambling, ran 20 yards backwards, circled around. It was his first year, and it's about 20 seconds of him running. He ran about 50 yards and finally threw a touchdown pass at the end. It was a fluke play, a broken down play, but yeah. So that one play alone is 20 seconds, and you're right, probably 25 seconds of highlights as a Jet after that.
Right.
Or 5 seconds of highlight.
He was seeing ghosts. That's what he was.
Well, that's what I mean. We get the guy who saw ghosts, and everybody else gets the quarterback that people saw, right?
Yeah.
Right.
David, not to get into it, but, again, on the show, we like to get a little personal. And, I noticed you mentioned that your father had passed away. You want to tell us about your father a little bit?
Yeah, and there's no limits with me because I'm personal. I have no skeletons. I bring them out to play. You can ask me anything about, sex, drugs, and alcohol, and I do not care. My dad, I do care about. My dad was, he was my best friend. He was more than a father, best friend. He was my light, my mentor, my guide. And when he left us, it was so painful. It was 100 times worse than I thought. I was fortunate that Scott Tamore, I was working for TNA Wrestling at the time, allowed me to spend the last 3 months with my dad, with him at his house and just go to TV to direct the shows. But my dad was a rock star, and I wrote a book about him 2.5 years ago when he passed, called My Dad, My Dying Son, SUN. And I didn't know that, Monty and Farrah, because to me, he was just a normal dad. He would take me to Super Bowls, and I was, in my teens and, even before my teen years. And I just thought that was normal life. I'm seeing all these people that work in football, all these executives, like Tex Schramm, the Cowboys. I met Muhammad Ali in 1969 when I was 7 or 8. He came to our hotel room. So to me, it was just normal life. But when I wrote that book about my father, he was just so humble that it's like, I realized what a rock star and superstar he was during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. He not only authored 31 books, and I say author purposely because it doesn't say written. I've written 5 books. One's published by Simon & Schuster, but my dad authored 31 books, and he published monthly periodicals on wrestling. He did Pro Wrestling Scene, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Pro Football Scene, wrestling, boxing scene, a bunch of things. So he was a workaholic. He did that for his family. So I'm going to sum it up in this way, and everybody can probably say the same thing I do. And in my opinion, my father was the greatest father that ever lived and the greatest man that ever lived as well. It was the greatest dad I could ever have, I swear. And I still talk this day every once in a while when I talk about him.
You can't get a better tribute than that, man. God bless. Holy cow. Tell me
to wrestling, which is funny. I mean, my dad.
Tell me like how that connection with you and your father and pro wrestling began, because I'm assuming he was watching like the old school stuff, and that's when wrestling was. Again, me and Jimmy are old enough to know that when we were growing up, like you really tried not to talk about wrestling, right? Because people would pick on you. Well, not pick on you, but they would. It was embarrassing.
Actually,
go ahead.
I grew up in New York watching wrestling, and you guys might remember this, but I started falling in love with wrestling. It was a show that was on WPIX Channel 11 at 11:30 on Saturday nights. I don't know what it was called, but that's when I saw, Freddie Blassie was a manager. You had the Grand Wizard there, George the Animal Steel, Hulk Hogan was just coming in there. So it was like the late 80s, early 90s before it became famous. That's when I first started watching wrestling. WPIX 11:30 on a Saturday night.
It was that PIX, Jimmy, or it was WOR?
Well,
it was OR, right?
When we grew up, for us, it was 1979, 78, 79 to 83 or so. It was on Channel 9 at midnight on Saturday nights.
And that was New York, so maybe I'm wrong, and Farrah might be right on that one.
Yeah,
I know that I was in New York.
Wrestling.
Right after the Trotters.
Right. Yes. And on UHF, All-Star Wrestling was being shown on the weekends in the afternoons.
Got you. I remember the late night shows. My friends and I, back then in the days when I smoked weed, I don't smoke weed anymore because it just messes me up too much. But there's other things I like to indulge in. But
I should think about that for a little while. You might have something there.
It's just so strong. It's so strong these days. The way they do all these different strains and whatever. It's just like I take one hit, and next thing you know, I'm in a foreign country for about 3 or 4 hours. But my dad worked for Vince Sr., but he's also into sports. And I graduated high school and college as a math major. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life because I hated math by the time I got to my senior year in college. And I was like doing odds and end jobs, working for construction, doing all these little, jobs for $5 an hour. But there were 2 things I loved. And one was sports and the other one was television. So my dad, being a sports writer, had connections to NBC, and he got me a job as a logger. You're going to love this, Farrow. Logging NFL games every Sunday as my start. And Carrie Glotzer, big-time producer right now, but he was the producer of the highlight show at the time. Him and I bonded right away. He was a Jets fan. So my first day in the job, he goes, "Hey, I heard a lot about you. Dad says great things about you, man. Welcome aboard." I said, "Yeah, thank you." And I'm nervous. He goes, "Who's your favorite team?" I said, "The Jets." He goes, "Great. Your job is watching Jet game from 1 to 4 today and writing down every play and the time when it happens." And I'm like, "What?" I mean, what a dream job. My first job, I'm watching Jet game. Well, it's a Jets, but I'm watching my favorite team and I'm getting ready to log down the scores. So since I love what I was doing, and this is a good lesson for anybody out there that's searching for themselves and what they want to do in life, just find out what your passions are. Mine were sports, especially football and television. And when you get a job, an entry-level job in that area, you're going to love it so much that you're going to send like a missile. It's just going to happen so fast. And success will find you. You won't have to find it. So that 4 years at NBC led me getting to the WWE because John Filippelli worked at NBC and he went over to the WWE and he brought me along with him about 2 years later.
Now, at that point, though, are you like a wrestling fan? Like, are you into wrestling or are you just into sports?
I'm going to be honest right now. No, I was not into wrestling back then because I loved it before WrestleMania, like 2 or whatever. WrestleMania 1 was intriguing, but I just thought it became cartoony. I liked it when, you still like, is this real or is it not real? Because I wanted to believe that it was real, especially on that late show on Saturday nights. I really thought it was real watching that. And even when you saw some misses, just like I would justify it to my friends on like, why it was still real. And then I thought it got a bit cartoony. And then when I joined in 1992, I joined because I had a little contract to speak with NBC. There were 3 other people, Fox, CBS, and ABC, that were getting paid 3 times more than me, but they're taking advantage of my youth. And Filippelli called me, and I really didn't want to go there, but he offered me a lot of money, and I would have stayed at NBC for half the amount. But they wouldn't even counter that. I thought it was a bluff. They're like, why would you go to WWE at the time? They're going downhill. They're losing money. Vince in this IRS scandal. Pat Patterson has a sex scandal, who became a great friend of mine, by the way, Pat Patterson. And I just, I felt disrespected that they wouldn't even give me a dollar more. And then when Dick Ebersol found out a week later, he called me up to his office. He just had to come back from the Olympics. And he said, I'm sorry about what Ken Sham just said about not giving you any more money. I'll match Vince's offer to stay. But guys, I'm a man of my word. And I'm sure Farrell can respect this. Maybe I'll buy myself an hour of not being threatened by him coming down to Chattanooga and kicking my ass. But I'm a man of my word. And when I tell Vince and John Filippelli I'm coming there, after they waited 7 weeks for me to give an answers, I kept on dragging out, waiting for Dick to come back. Once I make a decision, I don't go back on that. I don't think it's ethical. I don't think it's morally right. So I said I didn't want to go, but I went. And I'm glad I did. My first day was a culture shock. Because I go from the real world, not that wrestlers aren't real athletes. I did that in a spot. I proved that they were in the first attitude spot. But the real world of Michael Jordan, of Magic Johnson, of Don Mattingly, of the NFL, to like my first day, Vince flew me out to Regina, Canada. It wasn't even my start there. It was the day before, just to like get a feeling of the taping backstage. And I'm seeing Doink the clown, Duke the Dumpster Drozy, Nails, this guy in a police in an orange jumpsuit. Kamala in another room is reading the New York Times. And I really thought that he couldn't speak English. I knew he wasn't from the jungle, but I thought he really couldn't speak English. It's in his face paint. And he goes, hey, you're the new guy, right? Jungle? Yeah, no, he's not. He maybe we're off in the jungle. I don't know. But he's reading the New York Times and says, oh, you're the new guy, right? I said, yeah. He goes, come over here. Do you have anything invested in stock shit? And I said, no. He goes, let me give you some tips. And I'm just like, it blew my perception of what these guys were about. But also, I'm like, what the world did I get myself into? Because Owen Hart is following me around for 5 hours, acting like he's got a man crush on me, saying, hi, my name's Owen. And it's like, I know, I got that 100 times already. And Bulldog puts a master lock on my belt, him and Owen, and they just follow me around, just like stalking me. And it was just like, I'm like, what the fuck did I get myself into? Can I cuss on the show? Oh, there he is. That guy has great stock tips, or at least he did when he was alive. Great stock tips.
Wait, it's great
that
stock
guy right
tips,
there,
but he couldn't negotiate a contract? What's that?
Exactly. I think they're two different skill sets, Farrell. It's like you can, you're good at stocks, but you suck at negotiations. I know I suck at negotiations. I'm terrible when it comes to doing my contracts. I usually
it's
just say
all
yes.
Hogan's fault anyway that Kamala didn't get any money. We've heard all the complaints.
I haven't heard that, but I believe you on that.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't heard that?
No, I haven't.
You're in the right circles, not the wrong ones.
Yeah.
Do you realize how lucky you are as you tell me your story? I mean, you're so fortunate. I'm sitting here listening to your story. Your dad was involved.
Jimmy, by the way, I don't want to interrupt you. All I want to say is thank God I'm not on my island, because I'm so jealous of this dude right now. I'm just like, this is fucking this guy's got a life.
Don't be mad, because I didn't realize at the time about my father, as Farrell was saying to me, he's just a normal dad. This is a normal life. So I wasn't aware that it was special or anything different. I just thought that was like a normal life.
Were you disappointed? Were you disappointed going into wrestling because you started doing stuff in football and was it like wrestling? What do I got to do wrestling for?
Farrell, I was disappointed about a month in because that's when I nearly got fired, and I'll get to that in a second. But I'm glad I left, because when Dick Ebersol came to NBC Sports, and I respect Dick, but everything became sanitized. All my creativity was taken away. Like I cut my first NBA spot to a song, I've Got the Power. It was a big song back then. I've got the power, boom, boom, boom. I'm showing all these exciting slam dunks, putting sound effects like explosions on the dunk show, Michael Jordan. And he hated that spot and wanted me to cut it to, I kid you not, it's in the book, a song from Annie, the play, The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow, and use slow-mos. And I couldn't use more than 2 people of color in a row. So after you like, Chris Mullin and Larry Bird, you're kind of like, looking for anybody who has pale skin, and using slow-mos. And he says to me, I kid not, and when she sings a line, son, use a shot of Charles Barkley. And I'm stunned right now hearing this. So I'm like, sure. He's like, do you know why? And I'm like, no. And he's like, because it's Phoenix Sun, you get it? And I'm like, oh gosh. Oh yeah. Okay. I get it. So when I left to go to WE, I discovered a month later, I was able to unleash my creativity. And one thing I heard, one constant frame before I get to the time I nearly got fired by Kevin Dunn in the beginning, is whenever I did something that was different, we can't do that. And I'm like, why? And it's like, we've never done that before. Now we're into 1993. And I'm like, I know, look at our ratings. I did a spot in black and white. We can't do that. Why? I've never done that before. I know, look at our ratings. That was always my answer. I did a spot where audio was like, like looped and layered and this and that. We can't do that. Why? It's out of sync. It's not out of sync. It's done by design. But we've never done that before. I know, we're doing it now. We're changing our ratings. We're changing our look. But if I can go on, John Filippelli worked at NBC. He was the lead baseball producer. He loved baseball. And that's really where his heart was. He ended up with the Yes Network. But he brought along about 20 people from NBC. And they were there for the World Bodybuilding Federation the year before. But they stayed there working for the WWF. And Kevin Dunn, I think, felt really, really bad that he was passed over for the executive producer job for this guy from NBC. So my first assignment, besides doing the local weekly promos, is to do the first opening for Monday Night Raw. And I get a phone call about a month in. Yeah, there's Kevin Dunn. Good one. We're right on that. And he says,
you love those teeth, though.
I friggin' love those. I love those pictures. But yeah, the teeth, I learned to look at his eyes and not his teeth.
Yeah,
look beyond the deception.
David, come here.
Yeah. We were actually good friends for a while until I decided to leave. And then he turned on me. And he hated me in the beginning. So I get a phone call in New York City at this animation house doing like a layered animation for Raw. And he's like, David, first of all, I'll begin by saying it's like a scene from the end of The Godfather 1 when Michael Corleone had everybody killed. Al Pacino, just ruthless, having everybody killed at the very end. And he's like, Flip, gone. So-and-so, gone. And I'm shocked because Flip hired me. So he's going to the first 10 names. And I'm just not even hearing them. I'm shocked. And he went through about 20 names. And it sounded like a coup to me. And he goes, if I had my way, your NBC ass would be gone too. But Vince likes you and wants to give you a chance. So this Monday Night Raw open better be good or your ass is gone too. And then hang up. I didn't even get a chance to respond. That was it. And I'm thinking 1 month in, I'm like, wow. Shit, episode 1 to match that salary. It's like, I'll go back to like half of what, I wanted. Can I still get my job back there? Because I really thought that I was not going to survive that in culture. Because Kevin Dunn and everybody there except for Vince wanted me to fail. They wanted this opening to suck. And I remember that I played it for them on a Sunday in December. They were there doing voiceovers for a show, and Kevin Dunn called me down. So I put it up on VTR1. And right now I have no friends there. They've all been fired.
David, 1 second. I just want to make sure I heard this right. They wanted you to fail?
I believe so, because I was an NBC guy and outsider.
We're going to sacrifice Monday Night Raw just to prove a point.
They wanted I think the opening to fail, and they had enough time to do another one so that Kevin had an excuse to fire me because I was a lone NBC guy there that was left. Kevin Dunn hated NBC. Anything NBC, he hated that. He cleared house of everybody who had the NBC connection with John Filippelli. And John Filippelli is one that recommended me to Vince, and he and Vince ultimately hired me. So I think Kevin and his cronies like Kevin Quinn, the editor, and we all became good friends, a year later. But, Larry, the audio man, the audio engineer, the producers that were there, they all wanted this thing to fail because when I brought it on down there.
David, did you think that Vince wanted you to fail?
No. No, I think Vince wanted to see what I had to deliver, what I had to bring on a big project. Okay, that's making more
sense then. Do you think Vince was aware that Kevin Dunn was treating you this way?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think Kevin said nothing to Vince and just wanted Vince to see it because I go down there and I can tell right away that Vince is not in the best mood. It has nothing to do with me. Maybe something was happening with the contract or with the legal issue. I don't know. But he's just like down and Kevin goes, got it? I said, yeah. He goes, put it up on VTR1. So I have an engineer put it up on VTR1. And they played, and it's played very low music-wise. I mean, when you build something that's, music-driven, you want to hear the music loud. And you can barely hear it. So that's another clue that they wanted this thing to fail. And it airs, and Vince looks up like this and closes his eyes for a full minute or more. It felt like 5 minutes. Says nothing. Nobody says anything. He walks back, gets a cup of coffee. Faro, one sweet and low. And I'm dying right now. I'm in the corner of the room as far away as I can be. I'm dying right now. I'm like, Vince doesn't like it. Nobody's saying anything. A second pack, Boom. He goes, play it again. He walks back up there. Play it again. This time he looks down. Another minute or two of silence. So 5 minutes total, but to me, it felt like an hour. And again, I'm thinking I get my job back. And Vince finally said, well, what do you all think? And Bruce Pritchard jumped in right away and said, well, Vince, I like it. It's different. And then Curran Silky said, he's a director. I like it too. It's a different musical vibe. I love the police sound at the end. All of a sudden, everybody started to like that. And Kevin Dunn's only reply was, obviously, David likes Razor Ramon. There's a lot of Razor Ramon in there. Oh. And so I survived. But I really think that, like Kevin Dunn and the production team did not want me to, pass that test. Vince wanted me to. Bruce Pritchard did. Curran Silky's did, but I don't think the production did because they got rid of all the NBC people except for me. I was the last one to go.
So, David, that opening was like the God.
Yes. The police song goes.
Yes, right. And the Razor Ramon and
yes.
I love it.
And it's not that great now looking back. I did better openings for Raw, but back then it was
different. But at the time though, that had pace to it, that presentation. I remember that. Like bang, bang, bang. No, that
absolutely.
Was good. Yeah, it was fun to do as well.
Now, Mike, you can't put up that picture and get away with me not making a joke. At least does it take 2 toothbrushes, like one in each hand, for that mouth? Look at that picture you put up. My God!
Put it up again, Mike. You came up longer this time. I'm going to analyze.
Let's analyze.
Put it up.
Whoop, wrong one. Sorry.
No,
this
not
one.
That one.
There you go. Oh. Well, first of all, look at
one of those things you scrub toilets with. Maybe that's what you use.
But look at it's like dirty teeth too. It's like nasty. The dude's like a multi-millionaire.
Dude,
like
I noticed that. Teeth, I noticed that now, and I noticed that when I was around him. But that's why I always looked at his eyes, not his teeth.
Let me ask you, David. Does Dunn not get enough recognition though for his talent? I mean, in today's wrestling, everybody talks about it's no longer the Dunn's way. It's got this Sports Center feel and the way they're doing things in the presentation, and Dunn just couldn't get out of his old school way. What were your thinkings about?
I have many good things to say about Kevin Dunn. I mean, 2 really bad things. One was a start, and one was the way my career ended there. But Kevin Dunn was, I think, a brilliant producer, and he knew what was right and what was wrong. He knew how to keep Vince from making mistakes. I think Kevin Dunn was a master. He was a master in the truck as well at producing. He knew how to make decisions decisively. He was a fucking asshole to almost everybody there in production, except for a chosen few. And after I passed that Raw test and did something else, by the time January came around, I'm 3 months in, Kevin befriended me and we became friends. And he treated me with kid gloves, and so did Vince. I was like the golden boy. So I really don't have that much to say about Kevin Dunn, but he was really a talented individual. I mean, one of the best ever in the business. And the Dunn way, I thought back then was the correct way. And Kevin was evolving too. For instance, when it came time to doing the Attitude Era, Kevin was a big supporter of that. And I wrote a spot along with the help of Chris Chambers, but then I went out there and shot the spot. And so one of the athletes say, I know what you're thinking. I'm not really an athlete. I'm just a wrestler. Well, I played, center for the University of Tennessee. I played football for the Dallas Cowboys. I did this. I did that. Stone Cold says, I broke my neck, but still got up. All these injuries. You think this is fake? You think this is not real? Try lacing my boots. Boom. Attitude logo at the end. That's before you had the Attitude logo. And we pitched that spot to Vince, and Vince hated it. And Kevin Dunn turns to me when Vince leaves and goes, you know what? Just cut that spot anyway. He'll like it when he sees it. Because Vince needs to see things to feel things. He doesn't just always get somebody else's presentation of an idea. But Kevin Dunn had very good instincts. He really did. He knew how to push my buttons. And usually knew by gently and being nice, I could get more out of me than by being, mean and being yelling. Whereas other people, majority of people would just yell at him, throw soda cans at and sandwiches at. He was notorious for that.
So he knew how to trigger his people. He was a good leader. He knew
what do you call it, the puppet master, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
strings, yeah. And he knew my string was like compliments and like let's go out to dinner and drinks and let's have fun, this and that. He knew that always got me because when you're hanging out with Kevin Dunn and you're in his inner circle as a friend, not talking wrestling, I obviously ideas come up about what we can do, and he knew that's like what I liked, and that fed my creativity. So yeah, he knew how to. I don't want to say manipulate because with me, I think it was kind of genuine there for a long period of time. At least I'd like to think that it was. But it's just like he knew how to navigate things at the time. That's how he was able to get John Filippelli out of there and all of his people. He survived for so long because he knew how to navigate. Just like I knew how to navigate when I was at TNA. And it was mostly by just like staying away once things started to go downhill. But Kevin Dunn was very talented. And he didn't get stuck in an old pattern. He grew. I think the product today is stuck in an old pattern. I find it hard to watch, guys. I'm sorry to admit that right now, but I do. And if I can pontificate for a bit about the genre, the Attitude Era in the late 90s and early 2000s, when you're part of a real revolution, when you help light the fuse, the Attitude Era, and boom, you see it skyrocket in there, and it becomes a Monday Night Wars against Nitro. And there's real change. There's change on every level. There's change on production, the way the product is presented, the way the consumer consumes it, the way the talent acts, new characters developing, pushing the envelope every single week, doing things we never did before, breaking down barriers. And then when all that stops in like the early 2000s and becomes they use it continuity as opposed to repetition. To me, it's like cut and paste television right now. And that's like that's a cop out for like not want to take risk and dare and do things differently anymore. It looks a hell of a lot better than it did back then. But back then it was real because what was happening really was real. We were live up against a competitor and we were trying to outdo each other. And when you're part of that time, to watch cut and paste wrestling 20 years later, it's kind of hard for me. Yes, it's polished. The sets look like, a primetime game show that you see on ABC or NBC or Fox, but it just seems so polished, so refined. And the heart, the storylines, as you guys know, it's all about the storylines. Sure. So you see emotion between two wrestlers in the ring. It's like, it's not about the moves. Everything's a spot fest today, but think of the match with Stone Cold and Bret Hart. I mean, there weren't great moves there, but they told great stories in those matches, and it sucked in even the casual viewer. I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin never tapped out. He passed out because he was bleeding and there was a lack of oxygen to his brain.
David, can I ask you a quick question? Sure. Now, in the Attitude Era, were you part of did you work on the intro for the Raw is War intro?
I did every Raw opening, including that one. That was my favorite one to do.
And I just want to make a quick statement before you tell the story. Jimmy, I want to say this. You know how we watch Dark Side of the Ring? Again, we're just fans, and everybody talks about Vince Russo and Vince and Stone Cold and who made. I'm just realizing right now how important David was to just the intro is what got you going. And, from that, when they're fighting to the guy that opens up singing here to the music, forgive me, I'm old. I can't remember the lines.
Well, it was Marilyn Manson, The Beautiful People for the first 3 weeks, and then we got sued.
That was SmackDown, though, right? But
yeah, well, 2 years later, we get sued for $250 million, and SmackDown has it, 2 years later. So go ahead.
But I just want to say, what respect I have for you, because you're part of the Monday Night Wars. Mm-hmm. It's you too. It's like, wow. Think of what you accomplished, but please continue on about the Attitude Era. Please.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. Don't be sorry at all. But somebody said who reviewed my book that I was kind of egotistical, but I was just telling the truth. But I was an integral part of the Attitude Era. It was myself, Chris Chambers, Kevin Dunn, and Jim Johnson, and then later Adam Panucci. Vince didn't get it. I came up with the idea for the term attitude in that one spot. It wasn't the Attitude Era then, but attitude was at the end of that very first spot that I mentioned earlier about the wrestlers. I was trying to present them as real athletes, like, the stars I worked with at NBC, make them feel real. And that one word it's like lit a haystack that was building. So you're getting our asses kicked by WCW at the time. And that one word changed the way producers like Adam Panucci cut packages, quicker pace to music, the way the writers, Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara, started writing television, the way we were doing things. Vince was against a Titantron. That wasn't my idea. That was Kevin Dunn's and Chris's idea. And they talked Vince in like, wait, we could put our entrance videos in there for each wrestler. We could have people interrupt on the screen. So Vince had to see things before he accepted them. But Vince had nothing to do to drop the Attitude Era. I'll tell you that. It was myself, Kevin Dunn, Chris Chambers, and Jim Johnson that were first pushing the envelope, and the creative hopped on board after that. But just to clarify things, people confused about what I did at WWE compared to elsewhere. Every cold open for every pay-per-view when I was there, I produced those. Every opening for I produced those. I have 27 trophies there on my wall, all from WWE. And I'm not saying that to brag, but what I'm saying that is I would tell people 10 years ago, they meant nothing to me. They're just trophies for winning things. Because back then, it was validation, but I didn't brag about them. And as about 2 years ago, they mean something to me. Because when I was writing the book about my dad and how humble he was, I realized that I stayed humble while I was winning all those. I wasn't walking around the office bragging, counting those things. I wasn't going out to bars and trying to impress girls and saying I'm an award-winning director and producer or creative director. I was just myself. And the creativity in me just comes naturally. So people say I'm very creative, and somebody said, these aren't my words, the most creative person ever. It's like, thank you. That's kind. But to me, I'm just doing what comes naturally. like somebody who can play guitar, like Pharaoh, who's scaring the shit out of me because right now it's a split screen. He knows where I live, and I'm going to lock my doors tonight. I'm going to tell you that right now. But again, I think the Jet Bond bought me some time with Pharaoh. I think I can alleviate that fear.
As Jet fans, we're running out of time.
Yeah, but just the fact that I stayed humble, now those things mean more to me than they did 20-some years ago because I never bragged about them when I won them. And I won 27, and the nearest guy won 2.
I got to ask you one thing, though.
Sure.
Because I'm very curious about the Monday Night Wars, as we all are as fans. When you guys are getting your asses pounded into the pavement in the ratings during that period by Nitro, what is it like behind the scenes in the truck? What is it like behind it? Like is Vince McMahon impossible to be around? Is done on an all-time high asshole level? Is everything you're doing and giving them shit in their eyes? Is everybody panicking? What's the vibe during that point?
The vibe when Monday Night Show was going to go head-to-head with us was like, we don't worry about them. You know, Eric Bischoff was running it. And Vince wanted everybody to hate Eric Bischoff. I didn't hate Eric Bischoff. I respected Eric Bischoff, what he was doing, going live against us, but I didn't hate him. Vince hated him. But I'll never forget I was in the edit room because we were doing Superstars that was taped for 1 hour. And we also, had Raw as well, but they were doing voiceovers for Superstars on a Monday night because Raw was actually, I'm sorry, we were doing live voiceovers for Raw because back then we were taping 4 shows in one night. 1 show was live, 3 were taped in the following 3 weeks. We're on doing a tape show. Vince is there doing the voiceover, I think with Jim Ross. And all of a sudden, like Lex Luger appears live on Nitro. And we have him in a segment coming up later on that show where he's wearing the red, white, and blue. Vince had no idea that Lex Luger was going down there. And at that point, I'm like, fuck, they're onto something. We're still beating them in the ratings. I'm like, they're onto something here. And people say who really started the Attitude Era. I said it was like a core 4 of us and expanded. It was really a collective whole. I just had that work into a promo that triggered something, but it enabled me to push my career out the box. But I would say Eric Bischoff started it in many ways because what Eric was doing, taking our guys away, doing all this kind of stuff, Vince's first response was use those billionaire Ted vignettes, which I thought were friggin' horrible. And that was my task. And at first they were fun, but then they became, there he is. Yes, I remember that. I love these things. You make me pop every time. But, it's like I hate doing those billionaire Ted things at the end. We were consuming 3 or 4 days of talking about, hey, Alex, come in here, about why, what we're going to do for billionaire Ted this week. Come on in here, Alex. I want you to see somebody. And so then, when we stopped doing those things, Eric's made me become creative, do things outside the box, the Stone Cold vignettes and all that kind of stuff. One friend just wants to say really hi, real quickly. This is Monty and the Pharaoh. That's the Pharaoh. You can get in here and look. He's kind of scary, isn't he? It's my friend Alex, my neighbor. There's Eric Bischoff too. Yeah. But that guy's scary, but he's in New York. So, Alex, if you see him tonight, lock the doors, okay?
Deal.
Alex is live, by the way, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, on live podcast. And thank you for your appearance. I'll give you $30 when you come back, okay? Thank you guys for that. I appreciate that. That was spontaneous. But so Eric Bischoff, by doing stuff outside the box, got me really do stuff outside the box. Just got everybody to do stuff outside the box. So I kind of like to say that lately, Eric Bischoff was the one who started the Attitude Era. And not because I work for him right now at RAF, but just he did. He was doing things that nobody else was.
So how were you able to change? I mean, like, there's so much change going on during your career, and especially during the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
You go from presenting it as, I mean, you must be adjusting on the fly. Now, at this point, you've gone beyond being just a fan of this stuff. You're actually studying it because you're going to present it, right? I mean,
yes,
a lot of adjustments on the fly, I'm assuming, as these massive changes were happening.
A lot of adjustments. And I think one of the worst decisions Vince did was when Kevin Nash and Scott Hall went down there. Vince came up with the fake Deezer and fake Razor Ramon. I'm like, that's a horrible idea.
Oh, God.
And Vince's logic was like, well, it's like Batman. It's like Superman. They're played by many different characters in the movies, so it's just a character. It's like, no, it's a character, but it's a real person that is that character. And fans just shat on that. And I knew that they would. Fans shat on the billionaire Ted vignettes. I think the last one, when they had a match where they all died at the end, we were now Katie Koplovich, I think was the name, the head of USA Network, told us that we can't do this anymore because they became mean-spirited and personal. So that was on a pre-show for a pay-per-view. That was the last one we did. And it's just like, there's no upside to doing those billionaire Ted vignettes. Nothing except Vince, trying to get Eric Bischoff pissed off by attacking Ted Turner and not attacking Eric Bischoff. And Eric Bischoff told me later on that he laughed at those spots. And Ted Turner was amused by them as well, too. They weren't offended by him at all. So
I'll tell you what, I was offended by Mike. I got to ask him, you apparently feel about the Katie Vick storyline the way I do.
Yeah, I want to throw up right now thinking about that one. Can I ask you guys one question? I want to ask you guys one question. What's the upside of doing that? Because I didn't see any. Do you guys see any upside of that?
Honestly, it's the only time, and I've been watching wrestling for over 50 years. It's the only time where I actually said, you know what? I don't think I want to watch this at all anymore. What is this? What is this?
That was part of my disenchantment with me wanting to leave. I mean, seeing that, I was just so disgusted by it. And Kevin Dunn got some people together in production and says, anybody disagree with the spot? If they do, you can reconsider working. And I said, like, I disagree. I think it's offensive. I think there's no upside. I think it's disgusting. He goes, okay, that's one person's voice. Anybody else have anything to say? Nobody else had anything. So,
nobody else said anything.
No, because Kevin Dunn, I get it past with Kevin Dunn, but he was afraid that Kevin Dunn's going to fire them or something like that. So he just shut their mouth. Kevin Dunn had fear in that building, except for Chris Shavers, myself, and Jim Johnson. But
how about the fallout afterwards? Oh my God, I can't, man.
That's what Monty. I love it. I love you guys. I was doing that, but I didn't want to look at that. That was just like I thought that was gross. And
I think at that time though they had no competition at that point, so they were just trying anything to shock people, right?
And that's what happens, guys. You have legitimate competition. It's just like you get lazy, you get complacent. It's like you don't try as hard. You start mailing things in. And one of the reasons why I wanted to leave there was not only were we getting complacent, but we became so big in corporate once you went public. And we went from R to PG, and like, this is no fun. And all my creative ideas that I used to go to Vince directly with, or just do them on my own, like the Legend spot that on my own. Most spots are my own once I proved myself. They without even run them by Vince. I had to run by layers of different people that were now between me and Vince. And everything was sanitized and made vanilla. And vanilla is good once a month if you like vanilla. But, I like chocolate. I like spice. I like vodka too, I like some other things as well.
Put me in my place, David, because I'm a believer that, like Vince Russo, for example, put me in my place. I found that I always thought he wasn't very talented. He just happened to catch on to a Jerry Springer type of feel and took advantage of the times, because that was the time and once the Jerry Springer thing became passe and shock television was kind of going away, like Stern and Jerry Springer, Vince Russo proved to not be anything. But you worked around him.
Yeah. And I like Vince Russo as a person. I think Vince was great. But I think Vince Russo was great maybe 30% of the time. The other 70% of the time was horrible. And one thing about Vince Russo, and I love Vince Russo as a person. I know he cares, so I'm not throwing shade on him at all. But like at TNA when he was there, a lot of times storylines would start and would be a couple weeks in. And then because of a talent issue or something else, they just end abruptly with no explanation. So it's like you're starting to get an audience invested in things. And that's one thing Eric Bischoff did bring to TNA. It was about the storyline arcs. You have some storyline arcs that are 3-month arcs, start to finish, some that are 6-month arcs, some that are 1-year arcs. And, they're constantly changing and intertwining with each other. But like we'd have storyline arcs that would start and just abruptly stop the next week as if they never ever started. And to a viewer, that'd be like a disconnect to me. It's just like, well, I thought those guys hate each other. They've been hating each other for 5 weeks, and now they're like backstage friends, and there's no reason why they're friends right now. So that's one thing about Vince. Vince Russo was great when he was patrolled by Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn, because the bad ideas got filtered. And that's true about it with a lot of people, I would say. But no, Vince had some great ideas. He really did, that people talk about today. But a lot of bad ideas as well. So I'm not sure if I answered your question the right way, but that's how I feel.
No, I mean, no, you did. You did, right? He swung, and he 300% of the 30% of the time he hit the ball.
Yeah, which is great in baseball.
It's great in baseball, right? And again, all I'm trying to say is, I just felt like he right place, right time type of situation, and when he was really pressed to the gun, when he decided to go to WCW and really could prove that he could be something beyond Vince McMahon's stoolie, he failed miserably. Yeah. And again, I'm not, like you said, I'm not throwing shade on the guy. It's just, I just like to call it as I see it. You know what I'm saying?
And I think the 2-hour pay-per-views that TNA started out with, I joined them in 2004 when they were ending. I think that exposed him as well. I mean, I saw that midget that was masturbating in a garbage can. Sorry, politically correct, announced little person. And I was just so turned off by that. Well, again, what's the upside of that? It's not as bad as Katie, but what's the upside of that? I don't get that. Another bad idea was Mae Young giving birth to a hand. I mean,
that was kind of funny, though.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, but it's like that's something that I forgot until now. I haven't thought about that one in 20 years. Well, a lot of unforgettable moments.
I wonder what the hand grew up to be, by the way, but
2 feet and pumpkin head. I don't know. That's a stupid ass answer. I'm sorry. My attempt to humor failed.
As an artist, because you're an artist, man. As an artist, how difficult is it watching something you love, helping it get greater, and then watching outside forces ruin your art?
It fucking sucked, and I'm being honest about that, because it wasn't just me. Chris Chambers, Adam Panucci, other people there. We took a company that was on life support, guys. It was going down. When Vince came into that meeting, and I was in the attitude spot for him, and I love the show. Let's make this 3-hour special. Vince came into that meeting. We were losing money. And he basically said, hey, it's like we may be out of business in a month or two, because they were taking a lien out, I believe, on Titan Towers. Vince and Linda owned that personally. It wasn't owned by the WWF at the time. Vince Linda owned. So they were taking a lien out on that to make payroll, because WCW was kicking our asses. And Vince hated that idea about the Attitude Era. And Kevin Dunn told me to go ahead and do it anyway. So it's painful when you know that a handful of us, just organic ideas that, never existed before, are pushing the envelope, that we help singers on life support become this mega global conglomerate, whatever you want to call it, become so big. Then these outsiders come in that know better than wrestling people, because, they had a famous show on CBS 10 years ago, and they were telling us how to do things. And it not only was offensive, but it hurt the product. It really did. Because here's one example. There's a woman named Bonnie Worth. She was big into these added value things. So it's like, buy WrestleMania 19 and you get a free Undertaker banner if you use this code, free with proof of purchase. And I'm thinking 2 things, guys. A is I have 30 seconds to sell the emotion in a spot for WrestleMania. So 24 seconds of that is basically selling the emotion. The other 6 seconds tag page. Now I have this 9-second added value thing. So my time to sell WrestleMania is like 14 seconds. So it's like, I can't sell emotion in 14 seconds. That's one. Number 2 is, as a viewer, I'm thinking, okay, so WrestleMania isn't good enough that you're going to throw in this bonus bandana that probably costs $1.50 at a thrift shop. If I buy that, to make me buy it, I'm on the edge, should I buy it or not? Okay, I'm going to get that free bandana. I'll buy it. It cheapened WrestleMania. Tell me I'm wrong, please, because I fought that war and I was going to die on that sword. And I fell on that sword, but I didn't die. But I fought that hardly and I lost.
You know what? I never thought about it until you just started speaking about it, but you're 100% right. Again, but this is a new age thinker. Again, I'll just reiterate, anyone watching this show, and again, I want to remind people, please buy Backstage Pass, Tales from Beyond the Squared Circle, ECW Press, right?
And Simon & Schuster is distributed in the United States, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
so
I got to tell you, this has got to be a must read. Let's go back to the intros, though.
Yeah.
How do you decide on these type of intros? Who picks the music? And then how do you decide to even set it up? Again, you're bringing up these great memories from the, Raw is War, fighting in the back scene, to the singer going on, and then even with the Marilyn Manson SmackDown. Those intros are off the hook.
Are you given a time frame and the music and then sync it? What are you given?
We need to do new or open. When can you get it done? And I'll say, when can I get talent? And we'll look at a date, and that's how it came about. And not sounding egotistical, as that one critic I described when you read my book, but it was me who came up with those ideas. It was me who picked out the music, me who produced them, directed them. With a production team that I'd hire, a freelance production.
Did you pick? You also picked the bands?
Yeah, I picked music as well.
David, David, I wrote you Jimmy's band with Stereo Hall. I sent you some songs, and you didn't answer me back. See, Jimmy,
when did you send those?
What? Now you should be afraid of me. What are you talking about?
No. Well, hey, look, that 20 years ago, it's like that's past the statute of limitations. I'm fine on that.
You're right.
But let me tell you a funny story about the Raw is War shoot, because you mentioned that earlier. That's probably one of my favorite openings, if not the favorite opening for Raw. Because I just wanted, we're at war. Sorry for my pronunciation.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, with WCW Nitro. So it is a Monday Night Wars. And so Raw is War. Obviously, War is Raw spelled backwards. But my thing is like, let's just blow things up. I love fucking blowing things up, dude. That's why I love shooting with The Undertaker. Blowing things up, explosions, pyro. So we're in New York. We're, in this abandoned warehouse, and we're just blowing shit up. We got, all these, like, we had strippers from what's that big place I was in New York City at the time? I forget, but it's like we didn't, Scores. We used another video on this one. We had them there dancing amongst the right. Everything was burning. We had projections of war that were on the wall far behind those guys. And of course, New York being a union, you have a fire marshal. It's got to be there, make sure nothing, gets burned up. So we're doing all these explosions outside, all these explosions inside. But to me, the main thing was having the wrestlers fight inside this ring that was on fire. The ropes were burning. So when we get to that part, the fire marshal goes, I can't let you do that. And I'm like, why? And he goes, it's a fire hazard. I'm just like, are you kidding me? He's like, no, it's a fire hazard. Just letting my catch fire. I'm like, we just blew up these things right here. Stone Cold just walked through propane and gasoline. We got this over here. And these ropes it's a ring that's over, a dock that, we have a steel floor. Wasn't catching on fire. I'm sorry. So my producer, David and Dirk, comes over. He was a handheld cameraman for WWE at the time. And he goes, hey, what's the problem? He pulls out a wad of cash. He goes, yeah, I don't want you to light the ropes on fire. It's a fire hazard. And he has 100. So you think it's a fire hazard? Yeah. 300. He goes, shouldn't we be talking to coffee break soon? 400 comes out. And he goes, yeah, actually, I haven't had coffee in a while. How long would you like me to take for a coffee break? And Dirk pulls out another 100. He goes, 5 minutes. He goes, why don't you take an hour? And he goes, you mind if I take an hour and a half? And we're like, no, not at all. He goes, thank you. I'll see you guys in an hour and a half. And so that's when we lit the ropes on fire. And it's the old school bribery, dude. Cash speaks. Eric Bischoff says cash gets controversy, but it also gets things done sometimes. And the guy comes back, and the ropes are charred black. There's a smell of burning in the air. He didn't see the ropes on fire. He's like, so I appreciate you guys listening to me, man. That's good. Like, how much more do we have to do tonight? He obviously knew what happened, but it's just he was on his coffee break. So he had an alibi to his bosses that, hey, he said no, but he took a break for coffee and must have done what we behind it.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
So when you finally show this, what is McMahon like? What is Russo like? Is McMahon like, I love it?
Vince loved everything I did for the most part. He really did after I proved myself. He didn't like the ideas at times, like when I did the legend spot with Freddie Blassie, Ernie Ladd, Killer Kowalski. He questioned why while I was shooting that. And Kevin Dunn called me and said, Vince hates the idea of using the old legends. It's like,
no one cares about those guys, David.
Well, yeah, he's like about the new generation. But Vince understand that this was a sequel to the first Attitude spot. This was the old guard passing the torch to the new generation of wrestlers that can do things that they never did, like fly through the air and do moonsaults and things like that.
Dave, can I stop you for a second?
Please.
Mike, that video package with the Blassie is the greatest.
Oh, my God.
I'm saying it now. That is the greatest damn package I've been watching for over 50 years. That is the one that moved me the most, and he's right. That is the bridge.
Jimmy, if I'm right, that's the one with him. That's the one with him sitting in the chair, right, Jimmy?
Yeah.
That's the one with him sitting in a chair with the cane.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I love Freddie Blassie, yeah. Wow. But that spot made Vince cry. You've all heard the story before, I'm sure, but that drove Vince McMahon to tears. And
wait a minute, Vince didn't want it, but then when he sees
Vince hated it. He hated the concept of me using.
Please tell the story.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm doing the shoot, and it's like I told Kevin that I wanted to do a shoot with the older guys that are around, and he said sure, and I said trust me, it's gonna be a good spot. So the spot is, I know the copy by heart. I'll only do half it. I can still hear the echoes cheering my name. Time has not silenced the crowd. I never did this, never did that. We never flew through the air. We were men of courage, men of steel. There are men without fear. I can still hear the echoes cheer my name, and you see Ernie Ladd cheering. Waving as a crowd in the balcony dressed in like 40s and 50s kind of attire is rising and standing, and you cut back and you say nobody's there. He's just in his mind, the memory. And then a tear comes down, his eye. But today I cheer for them. I love Freddie Blassie. I did so many things with Freddie Blassie. That was just one of many. But Vince hated the idea because he couldn't understand why I was using the older wrestlers. So he comes to the studio with Pat Patterson and with Shane, and he's coming in there like this. He's waiting to like cut me a promo on why it's a bad idea. So he goes, all right, play the spot. Not even looking at me. This time we're in Jim Johnson's studio, so the music is nice and loud, guys, so you can feel it as well as just kind of hear it. And 10 seconds in, I hear Vince go, oh, God. It's like, oh, my gosh. Jeez. God damn it. And I'm thinking he hates the spot. And right when it's starting to fade down to black and the tag page starting to fade up, he leaves the room before the spot's over. And I say to Shane, Shane, what does that mean? And Shane turns to me and goes, Sahadi, you got him. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, you got him. And guys, I've told the story before, but I'll tell it again. I kid you not. I walk outside Jim Johnson's studio, and we're in the warehouse where The Rock used to train, the people trained. And Vince in his suit is sitting with his ass on the floor, and he's bawling hysterically. Hands like this. And he looks at me and goes, thank you so much, thanks so much. And he shakes my hand. I said, you're welcome, Vince. And he's bawling. And I go up to tell Kevin Dunn this. And Kevin Dunn goes, great. I told Vince that it was going to be a good spot because they have a good track record. I can't wait to see it. And then 15 minutes later, I'm walking through a different hallway out to reception. And Vince is sitting on the carpeted stairs there, still crying, saying, thank you, thank you. And guys, I don't know why. Well, I know why now, I believe. It affected Vince so much, but I think I figured out a few years ago, because to me it was a passing the torch of the older style of wrestling, the older superstars to the new generation. But for Vince, it hit on a far more visceral level. It was his father and him, Vince McMahon Sr., passing the torch to Vince McMahon Jr., and then Vince taking it to new heights that his father never did. So I think that's what hit Vince on such a level. But a spot that he wanted to hate, he ended up loving and crying about it. And to me, I've done better spots, I think, production-wise and value-wise, but when you evoke that kind of emotion out of Vince McMahon, that has to be the favorite spot I've ever done. Of the 1,000 spots I did, that has to be the favorite spot I've ever done.
Well, that was the power of that spot. That was what I remember was how it made me feel emotionally. And if you're connecting to just the wrestling fan at home, I can only imagine how it connected to Vince McMahon watching heroes being portrayed that to us are television heroes, but to him, he grew up around them. He was around his dad. He watched what his father did. It's just an amazing bridge. Yeah. And as a fan, I could feel it. I can only imagine how Vince felt, Mike.
Well said, Jimmy. Good.
Mike, writing this book, I was reminded like all the great things we did. And I knew they were great back then because you're living in the moment. But to us, it's just like, all right, what's next? What's next? It's your typical job. So it's like writing that book, I realized the magnitude and the effect of the works that we all did, myself included, during that time. And it's wonderful.
I mean
it was just
you literally changed the industry, David. Let me ask you this.
Everything.
So we opened up speaking about your father and what a great man your father was. We've heard so many times that Vince was like a father figure to so many of these wrestlers. Was he a father figure to you also?
You read my mind. And I think that's one reason why I was Vince's golden boy and why I got a pass on so many things with him and Kevin Dunn. Because as much as Vince loved Shane, I don't think Shane's heart was fully into, having his career be defined by wrestling. He got married. He wanted to do other things. And so I was kind of like the son that Vince never had in many ways. Or at least just say I was like Shane's twin brother, but like a different version of me. I was the emotional side, the creative side. Shane was the one who was more of the performer side. So yeah,
Dave, Dave, I'm sorry, real quick.
Don't be sorry.
Is it wrong that Shane's public, basically the way fans perceive Shane is that he got a Raw deal and Vince preferred Stephanie and yada yada. But it seems to me like you're telling me that in real life, Shane wasn't fully interested in just.
I'll tell you what I fully believe, Farrell, and you're spot on. Stephanie's heart was 125%. Whatever number you want to throw, that's over 100 fits.
Okay.
Shane's wasn't. Shane cared. Okay. Shane performed well, but his heart was divided, mostly with the product, but elsewhere too. And I think Vince felt that, and that's why he leaned more heavily on Stephanie. It wasn't because she was better or anything else. It's just that Vince knew that she really cared. 100%.
Fully invested.
Right, yeah, fully invested. And we all, when you work there, that's one thing, you have to be fully invested or you're gone. I became less fully invested toward the end when it became corporate. But yeah, Vince, he wants you fully invested because he is, and he would expect nothing less of anybody else.
Continue on how he treated you as that second son, please.
I can almost do no wrong. And it's always the attaboys, always good to see me until I gave my notice. And, then the last 4 days, because Vince thinks I only gave him a week notice, but then I gave a month notice or more. Kevin Dunn manipulated that. Then he wouldn't even look at me. But Vince would have these Friday meetings for a couple of years, Friday afternoon every week. And I'd go to Vince's office alone before he went to the gym and I went to the gym. And he's like, what do you got me this week, David? And I was like, I pitched him an idea, like the Royal Rumble spot with the takeoff on Field of Dreams, the cornfield with the Amish and the little people running through there. And the way I pitched for, I just took that. I'm like, so Vince, you got this? And boom, boom. Da, da, da. And I think Vince liked the pitch just as much as the idea. And whether he liked the idea or not, he still loved the pitch. So Vince and I really loved that half an hour or however long it was, that casual Friday afternoon meeting, just him and I alone. And, he gave me special treatment. I had unlimited budgets when I wanted to do things. I stayed at the finest hotels. I would stay in California for 8 days for a shoot because I would go out there on a Friday for the location survey. Then we have the weekend off. Then Monday we're doing the pre-setting, and then Tuesday and Wednesday we're shooting, and Thursday I'm doing the film tape transfer and flying back the following Friday, staying at the W in Westwood, at the finest hotels, unlimited budgets. Vince never looked at my budgets, never even cared about my creative unless there's something very important. So, I mean, you couldn't have been treated any better. I know there's so much bad stuff that's said about Vince, and I'm not denying any of that. The salaciousness, the scandals. I'm not denying any of that, but I didn't see any of that. So I can only judge Vince not by the press clippings and the headlines, but how Vince treated me. And he treated me almost as nice as my father did. And that meant a lot to me as well, because Vince was like a stronger, more real version of my father, just a sliver of Vince that he presented to me. So when people say Vince didn't have a soul, didn't have a heart, wasn't human, I saw that side of him. Might have been one of the few people that saw that, but I actually did see that side of him in the way he treated me, the way he treated my wife, the way he was just so kind. And so just honest. And so my leash I'd say I was unleashed. It wasn't a long leash. I was pretty much unleashed. And that's when I'm at my most creative best, when I'm unleashed and can just do things. And, of course we have some flops now and then. That's the nature of creativity, but it let me be more creative. Vince gave me the wings to soar.
Was there a goodbye? I mean,
no.
Did you ever talk to him again?
No.
What
happened was,
explain how that happens. That's
I had been saying for months to myself, I really don't like it here anymore. It's become sanitized. It's become whitewashed. It's like I can no longer talk to Vince directly anymore unless it's a crisis, personal crisis. I have to go through people that are now layered between him, outsiders that are layered between him. And it's like I was feeling the calling to go, and I don't know why. I'm a very visceral person. I judge my heart, not my head, because my head's saying, friends saying, why would you leave? You make so much money. You make your own hours. You get all these fun shoots to do. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but something in here is telling me to leave. And I remember when I took my sabbatical, before I get back to the goodbye, I was traveling cross country, and I'm bragging about like, yeah, I traveled 2,000 miles. I'm buying everybody their shots. This and that. I'm on my way. A Native American Indian. I'm in Lander, Wyoming. He calls me up the other night at the bar, and he goes, David, so you traveled far, right? Yes, I started in Nantucket, drove all the way out here. I'm going to go to California, then Hawaii, 6,000 miles. He goes, 6,000 miles is far, right? I said, yeah, I think so. And he goes, the longest journey you'll ever make in life is from here to there. And that was my epiphany. That was my holy shit moment, when it's what your heart is calling you to do. And so when I told Kevin Dunn, when I finally had the courage, Kevin Dunn thought I was joking. Like, it didn't make any sense to him. It didn't make any sense to anybody, even in some ways, not even to me, except I felt the call. And when Kevin Dunn, after 3 minutes of me telling him that it wasn't a joke, says, so you are serious? I said, yes. He goes, I said, Kevin, I know how it works here. Sometimes you're taken out that day. Sometimes you're giving 1 week. It's like, I'll stay for 6 months if you want. I seem to know that I'm going to go away.
David, can I just stop you 1 second? Please. I want to know, here you are, you're making a huge life decision, right? You're making plenty of money. You're pretty much rock solid there, as rock solid as you could be. Before we get towards the end of this story, what's your wife like when you're like, honey, I'm done. I think I want to move. What does she say to you?
You said, honey, I'm done. What'd she say to me? We were done. She said, nothing to be divorced. And I was having an affair with the I fell in love with the second in command of HR there, and we're having an affair, which is against everything that HR stands for. And so it's kind of funny.
Well,
and
I didn't know that happened, but
my girlfriend at the time, I won't mention her name. She was happy that I had
what a video package that would have been.
I know, and it's kind of like Vince and Kevin Dunn knew, but it's like it's David Sahadi. I'm sorry, that sounds braggadocious, but it's like Vince gave me a long leash, so it's just like let's just pretend like we don't know about that. That's all.
Oh wow!
Because Kevin Dunn actually hung out with her a bunch of times. She was crazy, but it's like we were together for 6 years. We on up once. She was going through a divorce at the time, so it wasn't just a married person HR, but again, just HR and a person that's not fully officially divorced yet. And here is a creative director that's having a love affair with her. And we really were in love. It wasn't just sex; it really was in love. I mean, she was a soulmate, and we had to separate for reasons that that be too long to talk about right now, but a mental disorder that was incurable. But it's like. It was a wonderful 6 years. I wouldn't trade them for anything through the highs and lows. But
David, I got to ask you, though. We can't. I'm not going to blow past this because this is what it's all about. So you're working your ass off. Yeah. How do you first connect with the HR person? Like, how does that first connection even happen?
Wait, Mike, and on top of it, an HR person who has mental issues. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't know she did. She hit him well. Like when you're bipolar. Farrell, let's just say that's one aspect of it.
Oh.
When you're manic, I mean, you're fun to be around. When you're depressed, it's like you disappear or you sleep.
Right.
So her not living with me, when she couldn't be around me for a few days, I didn't realize that was in her manic, her depressed time. Then she wanted me to see that side. But I first met her at a company Christmas party in 1998 in December. And just first looks alone, I just felt this connection. And I had to find out who she was and where she worked. And I brought her coffee the following week. And we struck up a relationship where we were just going out together for coffee for like 4 months and talking. But we felt from the very beginning, both of us, that there was a strong connection there before we crossed that line. And I'll give you a hint of who she is. If you look at the first Super Bowl spot that I did, that took place in the office, she's in the background walking from right to left behind Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Michael,
beautiful Irish girl with dark hair, blue-green eyes. And
Michael be YouTubing this.
I'm still in love with her. Even she's still in love with me. It's just that's how love is. So there's no shame or disgrace in that.
Nice.
Yeah. But I'm going to let Mike find that out before I finish the story if you can get that shot.
Keep going. Just keep going. I'll find it.
So when Kevin Dunn finally knows that I'm serious, he goes, well, why don't I give you 90 days paid? I said, Kevin, that's great. But it might be 2 months I'm gone for. It might be 6 months. I don't know. If you say 90 days, starting tomorrow, it's going to be 89, 88, 87. He goes, what about 120 days? I said, I can't have a finite number on that. I'm going to be counting down to a deadline. I said, I don't know. It might be 2 months. It might be 6 months. Who knows? I just feel I need to get away, whether I'm burnt out or whatever. I just need to get away. It's okay. Well, let's look at the calendar. It's end of May right now. Why don't we say July? It's like the first Friday in July. And I said, okay. And he goes, promise we'll have a really big party at your house. And I said, we will. And we did. I said, now can I go to Vince? He goes, oh, no. On a scale of something this big, I've got to figure out a way to tell Vince. Vince ain't going to take this easily. So it's a week and a half before my final day. And I'm shooting my last spot with Brock Lesnar on the beach. It's a SummerSlam spot where F5's a shark. Yeah. And halfway through the shoot, I see the behind the scenes camera people are putting down their cameras. They always film like the behind the scenes because people like the behind the scenes stuff, like tails beyond the squared circle, behind the scenes stuff. And I said, Big, John Gaburek was there. What's going on? He goes, because Big knew. He goes, Kevin's about to tell the staff that you're leaving.
Is that hard?
And no. It's in the opening scene when they're walking on past, yeah. And keep on. And so I don't think Vince found out until a week before. That's when Kevin made the announcement. He had to figure out a way to do that. And his way of doing that was getting his friend John Gaburek, Big, into my position when I left. As Kevin Dunn justified to me when I came back, my role was too big for one person. I was too good. Bullshit. So Big is going to manage the department, and Barry Bross going to be the creative end of the department. So two people are going to replace me. So I don't think Vince, in his mind, knew about it until a week before, or even just a few days beforehand. So he probably didn't think that I was mulling this over for a long time. And, hey, Farrah, I just had this thought. Are you ready? This is a deep one. Vince probably felt betrayal on my part because he only had a few days' notice. Because here I am, the one person that he did everything right by.
Yeah.
It's going to make me want to cry right now. I'm feeling Vince right now. I'm the one guy that he did everything right by. Nothing wrong. I never saw his dark side. Just treated me the best that he could. And the one guy that he treated right is the one guy who walked away from him.
Yeah.
That must have fucking hurt. Gosh.
And you like a son.
No, I'm sorry, guys.
I don't want to.
I'm an empath. I can feel what Vince must have
I don't
felt.
want to embellish it, but that's an E2. That's an E2 Brutus. I'm sorry.
That's probably Vince probably felt, wow, the one time I did everything right, and he left. Yeah.
So Vince is a person. I mean, don't
As I said earlier, I've seen that human side. Yeah, he's a person.
Yeah.
Tell us, to move on. Tell us about the Montreal screw job when you were around.
Oh boy.
I only went on the road for the live shows to do a shoot if I was doing a shoot with the talent, because I'd be back home watching it at my house, and the next day we're going in to cut packages using highlights from the pay-per-views while the road team is doing Monday Night Raw. So I'm having a party with my friends and the girl from HR, the beautiful girl, initials ST. Doesn't know the hint code. I get a picture.
Killing me right now, man. I gotta find
me in a second if you want me to. So yeah, it's like we're watching it, and I see the sharpshooter right there, Sean, and then all of a sudden Earl does a bell real quickly, and he runs, and we go off the air really fast. It's like 10:36, and these are supposed to go at least 10:45 to 10:53, that long. And something just fucking happened. I knew nothing about that. until watching that moment there live, having a pay-per-view party at my house. 4 IPAs, 3 vodka shots, and a little bit of weed thrown in there. So to me, it was like one of those like, something isn't right here. That's, to me, my experience of the Montreal Screwjob. Then I heard all the stories the next day. And I saw the tapes of Bret Hart, which didn't air, where he's doing the WCW, which later aired documentaries and spitting on Vince and all that kind of stuff. But I knew that something was fishy right there.
Dave, is that you with her?
No, I don't have gray hair like that.
It's a joke.
I got it now. All right, I got to find it. Keep going. Jesus Christ! Now,
but fortunately, he didn't have that internet problem back in those days. He was unleashed, Michael.
Google the Super Bowl spot. I'll Google it right now on my phone if you want me to.
Yeah, I went. I put first WWE
1999. Yeah,
1999
WWE Super Bowl commercial.
Check out Sherlock Holmes in the lower right-hand corner.
I love it.
Folks. Oh, God.
I am failing miserably as a producer right now.
But we're having fun. And this is everything about having fun.
This is why I never succeed in the WWE. All right, hold on here.
Well, I'm not good at with tech either. Just if that makes you feel any better.
David, if I can get this in, why don't you talk to me about the basically, in my opinion, the Beatles as far as the soundtrack to the WWE. Talk about Jimmy J.
Jimmy Hart?
No. Jimmy J.
Jimmy Johnson. Sorry. Yeah. And we called him Double J sometimes as a joke. I love
Jimmy to me, he's the Beatles, for God's sakes, with the stuff that he wrote for that company.
I loved working with that guy. And he's very talented, very creative. He is part of the Attitude Era as well. He was in that meeting. He's one of the core 4 because, his sound, music is emotion as well. And Farrell, you say that spot with the legends, you felt that on an emotional level.
Yeah.
That weird day in Regina, my first day there, when I'm seeing all these characters and clowns and people that escaped prison and guys from the jungle, Vince calls me in his little makeshift office there and says, David, what we do here, everything is about emotion. And he was talking about the matches and telling a good story, like I mentioned earlier with the Stone Cold and Bret Hart match, the Iron Man match. But I took that to do everything that I did, every single commercial, every single pay-per-view opening. I wanted people to feel something, whether it was laughter and, comedy, or whether it was like something really deep and profound, whether it was sad, whether it was anger. I always want to make some people feel something. And if I feel like they didn't feel something, then I failed. And there were many times that I failed. But I always try to evoke an emotion. Even with the crazy Freddie Fellini cold opens I did with Freddie Blassie, there were 2 of them where there's like black and white to take off on Federico Fellini, the director, the Italian director way back in the day who did silent films. They were just fun to do. They were artistic and they were fun and they made sense if you understood them. But for half the people, they didn't make sense at all. A lot of the work that I do also, Farrell, while Sherlock Holmes is trying to find this video, is I would write a lot of things about human nature and just put wrestling pictures to that. I would say half my awards that I won were about that. For example, WrestleMania 19, the commercial that was voiced over by Tony Roberts. He was an Emmy Award-winning actor on television. He was in a lot of Woody Allen movies. It starts out like this. We are all mortals. Our bodies, though strong, cannot define time. One day we will die. What matters most is a legacy we leave behind. So in the beginning of that spot, I'm showing talent that are like, in the locker rooms there at Tropicana Field, in the dugout, elsewhere, in moments of contemplation. Kurt Angle's like, rocking back and forth on a staircase. And at the end, it ends up like, only those who dare to chase dreams will only catch them. Only those who dare to rise above horizons. Only those who dare to fly are able to see beyond horizons, blah, blah, blah. Has nothing to do with wrestling, but you put wrestling pictures to that. That makes sense. And wow, that's a great wrestling video. That's a great wrestling commercial. So half my work is about the human experience, about going through adversity and how you come out of it, how you handle life situations. Because I'm very spiritual deep down, not in a religious way, but just in a way of living, in the way I treat people with kindness. It's in everything I do. And my creativity is driven from that. It comes from that. It's derived from that as well. So I always want people to feel something whenever I do that.
Not to call any particular wrestler out, but your job, part of your job, was obviously to enhance what they're selling.
Yeah.
Was there any wrestlers that you were ever like you might have dreaded, like, oh crap, Steve Blackman, how am I going to make him interesting? Now I just threw out poor Steve Blackman, and he was great, but never mind. Was there any?
No, there's some guy. Yes, none come to mind right now, but I remember like Vince had an idea for these characters and they didn't work, and I executed his idea. They were my ideas, but it's just, they didn't work. Like the ones with the edge, they wanted him to be like a Jim Morrison type camera reading poetry with candles all around him, and that's what we shot. And I'm like, this is crap. It doesn't feel authentic. So I shot a bunch of B-roll. I had a long trench coat that went down to my ankles. And Adam Copeland is like way taller than me. So I think it just barely touched his knees. But we shot this B-roll of him like running down streets, like peering here or there and there on the subway system, doing all this kind of stuff for B-roll. And I'm like, fuck this candles and poetry stuff. We had a female voiceover do minimalistic lines like, you don't know me, or whatever. And we use this B-roll. So that was me taking a bad idea and making chicken salad chicken shit. And I presented that instead of the candles and the poetry readings. And we shot both on the same night. It just is that, the B-roll ended up being a blessing in disguise. But there were talent that I liked working with and talent that I didn't like working with.
Does Copeland pay you to this day? Because
nobody pays me.
You literally created his character and made him a millionaire.
By accident, because there he is. By accident, because I'm very good at like being visceral and spiritual. I feel things. When I feel something's not right, and I see all this B-roll that we shot for that poetic stuff, I'm like, I have an idea how I can take just a B-roll only, fuck the candles and the poetry readings, and make something out of this. So that is one of my, I
got to ask you this. I was just thinking about this. You're talking about Vince, and by the way, great story. I was thinking, you tell them, hey, look, I'm just done here. It's not creatively helping me anymore. I'm sorry. Tough thing. But then you show up at TNA.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, Vince has got to be like, David just fucked me over.
Yeah, but there's something Vince doesn't know, but Kevin Dunn knows, because during my time, Kevin Dunn and John Gaburek, we stayed in touch twice to try to get me back. Once was I left in July. First time was in November of that year. So 4 or 5 months later, wined and dined me. They presented like 5 different jobs to me, all reporting to big, all were half my salary, all where now I had a boss instead of like me being the boss, and all were full time. And I said, guys, I'm open to a couple of those, but what if I ease back in it first by doing part-time work? Like, no, it's part-time, full-time. I said, well, let me explain. Like, give me a project that's going to take 3 months to do. Let me do that project, take 2 weeks off, then give me another one. Let me ease back into full-time, because I've been off for 5 months. It ended up being over a year that I was off. And the second time I met, same thing. It's full-time or no time. I said, well, guys, I can't say full-time right now. I can guarantee you'll be full-time eventually, but can't be full-time right now. So when Jeff called me, I'm writing a book in Hot Springs, North Carolina. It's in the summer. Mrs. Sahadi? And right then, I didn't even say it's Jeff Jarrett here, but I knew who it was alone just by the voice. Because I'd worked with Jeff in WWE on the music video that he did, on the Pissed Off vignettes, on a bunch of stuff. And I like Jeff. And Jeff and I agreed to like a 3-month part-time gig. So that's what I wanted to start, was part-time. And when they found out about that, they went ballistic. And they were pissed. They felt I betrayed them. Like, how did I betray them? I haven't worked for them for you. I wanted to come back part-time. It's only a part-time gig for a promotion that is like on live support right now, TNA. They're going from the weekly pay-per-views to the monthly pay-per-views. And so I was almost forgiven until the very end of my tenure. We did the cookies and balloons incident. You know about that one, don't you?
No, we don't. Please.
Oh, my goodness. That's historic. That's legendary. That's in the book. I devote 2 chapters to that. Let me know if I have 2 minutes to tell you the full story, because you're going to love this.
You've got plenty of time. It's all you.
So I have 2 weeks left at TNA. And we do our first pay-per-view there, Victory Road. I was in charge of the cold open promotions for that, the packages for that show, just to launch them on the monthly pay-per-views. Hulk Hogan was backstage that night. So was the Macho Man Randy Savage. So I had an idea that night when it was over. I said, Jeff, I heard that WWE's going to be here in 2 days to shoot a commercial at the soundstage right across from us. He was really, I said, yeah, I have an idea. Why don't we do like a PR package where it's like, TNA has become the epicenter of the professional wrestling world, because on Sunday we had Victory Road, our first monthly pay-per-view. Hulk Hogan was there. Macho Man Savage was there. And that same week, WWE was there too, shooting a commercial. We are the epicenter. It was a PR gag. I want to get some videos, some WWE wrestlers that were there. We actually wanted to open up the studios to let them come into our studio, thinking they'd be curious. But they were tipped off that I was up to do something, because Universal got wind of that and told me not to do anything. We had like these welcome, yeah, you got it, brother. Stop into a Slim Jim. I got them next door, by the way. I swear I do. And it's just a fun little PR package. Like, where, hey, everybody's coming now to our land, Universal Studios. It's the place to be. We're the hot thing right now. And then nobody came into our studio. So about 5 hours in, I see them setting up lunch. I said, when they go to lunch, let's go out there because it's common ground and we'll get some shots of stars there. And we go out there when they're all sitting down. It's only the crew members that are there. None of the wrestlers are all inside. They were tipped off as well. I'm shooting. John Gabira comes up to me and says, David, turn those cameras off right now. I said, Big, I don't work for you. You can't tell me what to do. I'm telling you right now, turn those off. I said, I'm allowed to shoot here. It's public ground. I don't listen to you anymore. I don't work for you, Big. I'm sorry. I work for TNA for 2 more weeks. I'm doing what they want. And some of those eyes that are almost fiercer than Pharaoh's. The police kept the last night. He's like, you're dead to me. You're dead to me. And I'm just like, my gosh. And about a half an hour later, we had nothing in my mind. We had a nothing burger. We had no talent that was on camera except for Jericho stuck his head out. We got that. And 619. I have a block right now because I'm going to get emotional.
Right.
Rey Mysterio. And that's it. And so this PA comes over to me and says, Vince and Big want to talk to you right now. And I said, sure. Where? And I said, in that studio. And I said, can I come with Abyss and Shane Douglas? Because I was afraid right now. I'm not going to go in the studio, alone and no, just you. And I said, well, I'm not going there alone if I can't bring 2 guys with me just to have my backup. So tell Vince that we'll meet on common ground somewhere. And I swear I'll even sign a paper that I will not record anything. We'll have a talk. She goes back there, relays message, come back, and they said, they're not going to meet you, but if any of that footage errors, they're going to sue the ass out of you and TNA. That was the threat I got. And the next day, Barry Bross calls me up and he's cussing so hard at me, like, fuck you. You almost ruined this, you almost ruined that. I said, Barry, he wouldn't even listen to me. He hung up the phone on me. He cussed me out. And I felt so bad. I started crying. And then my 2 weeks ends. I go back to my dad's house and I told my father what happened. He goes, I hope they don't take it out on me. I said, Pop, I'm sure they're not going to take it out on you. I'm sure they won't. It's like you were working for Vince Senior beforehand. He goes, yeah, I know, but I need that monthly paycheck. Because back then, and you're going to get me hot right now, guys. It's coming right now. You're going to get real heat. Back then, my father is reduced to Social Security and this Legends paycheck from Vince McMahon, $3,000 a month. And I found out from, I almost said the guy's name, but I don't want to because he still works there, a friend in the inner circle who's one of the 4 that I mentioned as part of the Attitude Era, that, hey, it's like he's the one that tipped me off as well about this, that they hold a meeting in Kevin Dunn's office. Big, Kevin Dunn, him, 2 other people. How do we get back to Sahadi for what he did? Well, how can we? He doesn't work here anymore. And somebody said, I think it was John Gaburick, let's hit him where it hurts. Let's stab him in the heart. Let's take away his father's paycheck. Let's convince Vince to do that. So my dad got his paycheck, and I saw him kissing it and making a prayer on the ground. You don't want to see that. That meant life to him. And 3 days later, when Kevin Dunn called, I listened in. Lou, Kevin. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? Good, man. I just want to say, I got some bad news for you, and I hate giving good people bad news. Yeah, right. It's Kevin Dunn. But the company is losing money. Yeah, right, losing money. So we have to take away your father's paycheck. We have to take away your Legends paycheck. I'm sorry. And my dad with grace said, well, thank you, Kevin. It was great working for Vince and for his father, and let Vince know that. And he goes, I sure will. And he hung up the phone, and I was irate. I'm like, fuck them, dude, because if you fuck with my father, you're fucking with me. My dad, they took away his fucking paycheck to get back at me. I mean, how cold and ruthless can you fucking be to do that? So I called Jeff the next day, and I said, Jeff, I want to come back to TNA. Want me? He goes, yeah. I said, I'll be there on Monday, the first Monday in January, and I'm going to get your TV deal too. And 4 months later, we got a TV deal on Spike TV because I was passionate to get back at them for what they did to my father. And we got that deal because they were leaving Spike to go back to USA Network. And Spike was pissed, but I knew Kevin Kay, the president there. And, Kevin Kay knew me, and that's what broke the ice. Because they were afraid of listening to the professional wrestling promotion. He's like, David, are you really with these guys right now? I said, now I am full time. And we got a TV deal on Spike. And we started airing spots for TNA in Raw during Spike's commercial time. There's nothing we could do about that because they were leaving. And they complained about that. And they said, well, guess what? You're leaving Spike to go to our competitor. So we can promote our competitor that's starting once you leave. But all that happened because they tried to fuck with my father to get back at me. So it's kind of ironic because you can say in many ways, if that never happened, TNA might not have gotten that deal on Spike TV. But that made me go in there 100%. I mean, how low can you go? That is Mike Johnson. You all know who he is, a PW Insider.
Yep.
When I told him that story, he said that Big and Kevin Dunn always treat him fair. What they did to my dad was pure evil. And he felt for me and for my dad. He said it was just pure evil what they did. And I don't know a better way to describe that, but it was. My father. He's in his 80s right now. That's how you get back at me. Fucking shame on you. And double finger to both those guys right now. I'm sorry.
Did you ever feel like you wanted to call Kevin Dunn and go, "What the fuck are you doing, dude"?
No, the best way to get revenge is just to, fucking make the competitor, really become real and be stronger. And I'm not saying I did it on myself. I don't want to sound egotistical, but it made me give every ounce of creative energy I had, every thought I had for the show, everything
Did you feel like Vince knew they were going to do that to your father?
No, I believe that Vince signed off on that. But I don't believe Vince came up with that idea at all. I think Vince would have been happy, just like, let it go. I never worked there again.
Again,
they wanted to get back at me. I have no doubt about that.
Why was your dad getting that?
He worked for Vince Sr. He did the Monday night reviews. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but in New York City, Madison Square Garden, I think Vince Sr. ran a show every 3 weeks on Monday night at the Garden.
Yes.
And my dad was a writer who wrote about the event, the results, what happened, and then his stories got picked up by the AP and Reuters. And got spread around the nation. Then with WWE, when Vince Sr. took over, he was the guy that tried to legitimize it whenever we had a Lawrence Taylor there or a Mike Tyson there. He'd get all the sports writers. Lou, why do you want to go there? It's fake. Yeah, but this is, Mike Tyson is so-and-so. There's a good story here. So he's doing that kind of PR work for Vince Jr. And he deserved that legend check. He probably deserved twice that. He did not deserve that legend check being taken away from him. Not at all.
No, not. I just, part of me feels like, wow, Vince Jr.'s loyalty to people who got him where he was, still paying your father $3,000 a month, which is pretty nice. Mm-hmm. And then on the other hand, for a guy like Kevin Dunn going, well, you know what, fuck this guy. We're gonna teach David and his father a lesson, right?
Yeah. Let me give Vince a pass here.
What's that?
Let me give Vince a pass here, Vince McMahon. I'm the one that he did everything right by, and I left him in his mind. This is his perspective. And now I did this to them and his entire top tier staff, saying we have to get back to Saudi by doing this. So I think Vince just said, fine. I think he was divorced from emotion at this time. I do.
Well, I truly, after you telling this incredible story, I really feel like Vince feels like his son fucked him over.
Yeah, he probably does. And I didn't. I don't feel as though I did. Because again, we shot a nothing burger there. I mean, there were no talent that was there.
I think in the emotion, again, who am I? Mm-hmm. But I think in the emotion, he's angry over it. But if he really knew what his foster son David was like, he knew he was driven on art. And you know what? If he wasn't being fed internally the way he felt, that's the way he's going to go. Yeah. I think if Vince looked at that now, he would probably think differently. You know what I'm saying?
I think so too. And that was my effort to hurt them with the cookies and balloons, because Abyss was going to have, the balloons. Tracy was going to have the plate of cookies. We're going to welcome WE to our world, but we couldn't do that. But it was just like, it wasn't to hurt them. It was just like, do this goofy thing like, hey, we're the TNA is now the evolution at Universal Series of the professional wrestling world these days. It was just a way of putting us over, not knocking anybody down. Because I really believe in this. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Terry Taylor told me this once, and it's who I am. He said there are two ways out of the tallest building in town. One is to build it. The other way is to tear the taller buildings around you down. And I'm a builder. I don't tear things down. I didn't mean to hurt WWE by doing that. I meant to help TNA. And that's a big difference in my mind.
When you said to your father, how dare they do this to you? Was your father like, don't worry, David, it's fine? Or was your father like,
I didn't let my dad see my anger and my emotion.
Wow.
I said, don't worry, Dad, I'm going to go back there. I'll take care of you. I'll help you. So I give my dad $3,000 a month.
Was your father
I'll tell you what, too, it's the greatest.
Well, my father's proud. He wouldn't take it, so I hide it from him. I'll give it to him. I wouldn't give him anything and say, son, can you help me out for a bit? Some bills came up, and I'd help him out then. He was living in Boca Raton amongst the richest of the richest, but my mother screwed him over in divorce. A lot of things happened. And, he was late 70s, early 80s, so book deals are drying up then. And that was his sole source of income. So it's just he only had Social Security coming in and that Legends check. But that Legend check meant everything to him. Yeah. That's $36,000 a year.
It's a lot.
On top of Social Security, yeah.
Jimmy, sorry I cut you off. What's going on, Jimmy?
No, it's good. It's all good. It's the greatest return served, though. Look, their lowly action led to our guest's response, and quite honestly, the Spike TV days were the greatest days in the history of TNA. So that's a hell of a return serve, and
it is.
Basically, you got to apply your craft simultaneously. Well done.
Yes, thank you, Farrah. And think about this. I think in 2007, 2008, when we were at our highest, we were getting a 1.6 rating for months, and that translated into over 2 million viewers, 2.5 million viewers back then. I mean, what did AEW get on their first show? So we really were a legit kind of an alternative to WWE back then. And then the whole thing happened with Jeff getting neutered.
Samoa Joe's and AJ Styles and the established stars to go with him. Whether it was
Sting, Kurt Angle.
Or like Cat's ass live on television.
Well, my cats are normally around when I do these things, but for some reason they're hiding. Oh, there's one right now. I think it's sunglasses, Pharaoh. But
David, I want to respect your time. We're going to hit you something with called the Pharaoh's final question.
Sure.
Jimmy Pharaoh, unscripted. Again, what an honor it is to have you on the show. Please remind everybody where they can get this incredible book. What stories you could tell, buddy. Go ahead.
Well, it will be in bookstores everywhere on March 10th. But the important thing the publisher wants, ECW Press and Simon & Schuster, to do pre-sale. So you can just Google that book, that name. You'll find that you can buy it at Simon & Schuster's website. You can buy it at Amazon.com. You can buy it at ECW Press. There's a lot of places you can buy that book and purchase that book. And, dude, I'm telling stories that aren't even in this book. There's so many more stories I can tell. One thing I kept out of this book, guys, is nothing salacious in drugs and sex. Because I didn't want to go there, but I can go there. But after writing this, there's a lot of stories that I didn't tell, like about Brock Lesnar and things like that. So there might be a sequel to this that's even a little more revealing.
Is there a picture of the HR person in your book?
I have one behind me. It might take a couple minutes to find it.
Damn it.
But I have one on my shelf behind me. Yeah.
Oh, you know where it is.
No, I think it's there somewhere. But last night in my little phase at 3 a.m., because I'm a vampire, as Eric Bischoff calls me, the vampire, because I work late at night, because it's fun to create when you have a little buzz going, a slightly altered state, and the phones aren't ringing, and there's no emails, and there's no text. You're alone. The world's sleeping, so I can hear the whispers of the unseen, if that makes any sense. And that's when my creativity comes to me. Going back to that, lots of alcohol at 2 o'clock in the morning, coming back from bars, and a little bit of another mind-altering substance led to that legend spot, because I saw an image of a man with white hair in a commercial, and instantly I had an idea for that spot. And in 5 minutes, I wrote down the basics of that spot and went to bed and finished the next day. So that was triggered by alcohol very late at night and seeing one image of an old man with gray hair. And to me, that was Freddie Blassie. And that's how that spot was born.
Organically.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, do I wish I was an artist. David, what an honor. Jimmy, the Pharaoh's final question, please.
Yes, sir. Of all the different pieces of art you've painted over the years, what is the one thing that you're most proud of?
Oh, it's still to come. That's going to be with RAF Wrestling, where I'm working right now, which is great. But I'm proud of a lot of things. I'm proud of the legend spot because it made Vince cry, and it touched him and touched people. I'm proud of my impact on the business, because even having this interview with you guys right now, I just realized how so many different actions affected so many different people. I'll tell you my proudest moment, okay, Pharaoh?
Sure.
I directed Ric Flair's last match. Conrad Thompson was the promoter of that. The venue was too small.
Jimmy loves that match, by the way, just so you know.
Oh, God.
Well, the show was great. That match is, skeptical. We can all debate about that. But the great thing was that I joked with Scott D'Amore, because he was getting false from Conrad 2 weeks beforehand. I said, I love Ric Flair with him at TNA. If you want me to direct that show, I'll do it for free, because be careful what you wish for. And sure enough, I directed that show. I didn't get paid for it, but I get to say I directed Ric Flair's last match. But the show's over. I go backstage, just only 3 years ago, and I'm seeing The Undertaker back there, shaking hands with him, Bret Hart, shaking hands with him, Mick Foley. And when I'm done, talking to the stars, they're all saying, David, how you doing? It's been a while. We missed you, whatever. These two kids come to me. They're like 25, 26, these wrestlers. I don't even know who they are. They're on the show. They're wearing tights still. I'm like, are you the David Sahadi? And me being humble, I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm like, wow, we're here because of you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't book the show. I didn't book the match. Go, you understand, Mr. Sahadi? We saw your commercials and your promos and your stuff with Undertaker growing up when we were kids. And that inspires us to become wrestlers. So because of your works, we're here. And that's when it hit me, guys. Like, even our conversation tonight, what you all had to say, we touch millions of lives. I didn't realize that. I've touched millions of lives in my work without even realizing that. And that was that holy shit moment where even me saying thank you, didn't feel like it was enough. It was enough. So I guess my work as a whole, just the fact that I touched so many lives in a positive way, maybe if in a negative way, but in a positive way, it's just like, it's overwhelmingly emotional in a good way. I mean, the power that we all have to change lives, just one person at a time, is amazing. So my saying that I use today is like, kindness is free. Sprinkle that shit everywhere. It takes energy to be mean. It took energy for them to get back at my father by having these meetings, figure out what can we do and take away my dad's paycheck. But kindness is free. Sprinkle like fairy dust. Sprinkle like, those nice mushrooms that you take with the fistless in there that give you creative ideas as well. You know, the ones that you don't find in most restaurants, but you know the ones I'm talking about. Especially when you microdose those things. You know, little
like when Aaron Rodgers was taking mushrooms and realized he was going to be with the Steelers the following year.
I can kind of relate to that too. I've never tripped on mushrooms. I have microdosing where you get to the point where you're just creative and you're open, but not in another world. And you know, it's just life is wonderful. We make it difficult, but life is wonderful.
Well, if anyone made a difference, thank you for what you did for the industry, man. And you should be very, very proud. And your ride's not even over. And thank you for joining the Howard Stern Pro Wrestling.
I'll love you back on again sometime, guys. Seriously,
I'd love to have you back, sir.
Awesome.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. It was fun.
It was great.
Farrell, can I pour myself another drink right now?
Absolutely.
All right. Yes, I love Farrell right now. We're like this. Thank you, guys.
See you.
Take care.
Jimmy.
Yo.
Fucking love that, bro.
Yeah. Once again.
Isn't it? It's not always amazing. It's not always
the main event. I'm sorry, Mike. It's not always the main event guy that some of our greatest interviews come from. That was fantastic.
Think about this, though, man. Like, I'm listening to him. He literally was an integral part of winning the Monday Night Wars, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know, everybody talks about Vince, Stone Cold, right? Obviously, but this is a major player in this whole game.
Edge being presented as
dude, Ed should be paying him now weekly.
Reading poetry with candles.
Career over. All right, we got the 9 o'clock show, but I want to remind everybody this. David Sahadi, the man who changed wrestling TV forever, Untold Story. Get that book. Jimmy, you got a copy. I got a copy. We can read it together and hold hands. What do you think?
No, I'm not going to hold hands, but if you need somebody to turn the page, ask your wife. Oh, cat! Oh.
I want to remind everybody, Monty and the Farrell, the Howard Stern Pro Wrestling, brought to you by FanDuel. Jimmy, Super Bowl odds. Seattle, -4.5. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I hate this matchup because I'm suffering. I got the Patriots and Darnold. Fantastic. Mike, this is a rough one for me. I'm afraid that I'm afraid that Vrabel will find a way to get to him. That's why I wanted the composure of Stafford. So I'm concerned.
Here's the thing. Mike. We lose either way, Jimmy, because guess what? If New England wins, we hate it. And if Darnold wins, you hate it. So we lose.
I don't hate it for Darnold. I'm actually afraid that Darnold will get rattled with Vrabel's game plan. That's why I want Darnold to win. I mean, we don't win either way here, but I definitely will take the much lesser of two evils. I would much rather see Sam holding the trophy going, yeah, I knew we had a quarterback. I said it back then. Whatever.
Well, I'll see you at 9 o'clock, big guy, all right?
Yes, sir.
See everybody at 9 o'clock. Again, what a great interview. Really enjoyed that, man. Severely enjoyed that.
Later.